Hi, this is episode 5, The Empire Strikes Back, in a series of podcasts for AP United States history students at St. John's School. I am Mr. Solomon. In this podcast, we will look at another application of chronological reasoning with the continuities and changes over time question. As you listen, please take notes on these guidelines and complete any suggested practice exercises. Bring any questions you may have to our next class. Let us remember that when formulating a response to any prompt, the same general format we've drawn up still applies when writing a thesis. In episode 2, we looked at causation and how chronological reasoning was employed then. Another way that students engage in chronological reasoning is by recognizing, analyzing, and evaluating the dynamics of historical continuity and change over time, over periods of time of varying length, as well as the ability to relate these patterns to larger historical processes or themes. Proficiency in this form of chronological reasoning starts with identifying patterns of continuity and change over time, but moves on to explain the significance of such patterns. Additionally, students should be able to explain how patterns of continuity and change over time relate to larger historical processes or themes. Here again, students are using their understanding of patterns of continuity and change over time to make historical claims. So let's see how our thesis formula applies. When writing a multi-sentence thesis response to a CCOT question, you still begin with the counterargument, followed by the argument and explanation. Only in this case, you are determining whether you have greater evidentiary support for changes or for continuities within the given period. Whichever you have fewer of becomes your counterargument. Whichever you have the most support for becomes your argument. What follows then is an evaluation of the overall assessment of the time period and explanation for your historical claim. Let's take a look at an example. Pause the podcast and take a minute to read and think about this CCOT question. Carefully identify what is being asked. The first sentence in this model thesis is used to demonstrate a persistent or continual trend. For instance, traditional leaders continuing to focus on economic policies favoring notables. Because we have fewer examples of continuity, this becomes our counterargument. The second sentence establishes two changes: increased efforts to expand the franchise and social reforms designed to support the growing electorate. The third sentence asserts the overall evaluation with explanation. The period was one of greater change because of the demand for inclusion and support from Andrew Jackson. This is a general outline of what a body paragraph would look like. Take note of the way evidence is organized. 3 pieces of evidence make up the paragraph. One example from the beginning, another from the middle, and the last from the end. In doing so, you're establishing continuity or change in the designated period in question. Lastly, your analysis establishes the cause of that pattern. Using the sentence, "this change or continuity occurred because," forces the student to spell out that analysis. Always keep in mind that you have a question to answer and prompt to respond to directly. Don't lose sight of what the big picture is. Let's take a look at another practice example. Pause and take a minute to read and think about this CCOT question. Carefully identify what is being asked. In this model thesis, the first sentence recognizes the new trend or change. For instance, some national political unity developed as a result of the death of the Federalist Party. The second sentence establishes two continuities. In this case, persistent, differing regional interests and continued class conflict demonstrate a period of greater continuity. The third sentence asserts the overall evaluation with explanation. Economic developments only serve to perpetuate regional differences. This body paragraph is set up in much the same way as the other. The topic sentence makes the assertion for change or continuity and explains why this is so. Again, your three pieces of evidence for this paragraph ideally comes from the beginning, middle, and end of the period. In this example, what follows is a clear explanation of how the evidence demonstrates that the era did or did not mark a major shift in politics. At this point, we are not quite finished. We still need to thoroughly explain why a major shift did or did not occur. This can be done once in the paragraph, not after every example. Finally, the clincher sentence reasserts your main argument. Now that we have reviewed the CCOT question, you should be ready to tackle the DBQ tomorrow. Please bring your notes and questions to class tomorrow as we will look at a DBQ assignment. Thanks for listening, good luck, and may the force be with you.